Hello, my name is Cole Justetter and I am a budget analyst with the Office of State Budget and Management. Today I'll be walking through the IBIS system to create, review, and submit a capital allotment for state agencies. Since state agencies and universities have a different accounting structure for the state capital and infrastructure or SCIF funded projects, we have separate videos for agencies and universities. So today we'll be looking at an agency project specifically. To get to IBIS, you can either navigate through the OSBM website by clicking on the NC IBIS button on the front and then clicking on NC IBIS login, or you can navigate directly to the URL, which is ibis.nc.gov. If you've logged into IBIS before, your IBIS login information will remain the same from pre-NCFS to post-NCFS. Once you've logged in, you'll see the IBIS main screen and your work queue. And this should look very familiar to you if you've ever used IBIS before. The changes made for NCFS were to incorporate the new chart of accounts into IBIS and the various IBIS forms you use, but the overall look and feel in IBIS should have remained consistent. To create a capital allotment request, you'll click on Create New Request, hover over Budget Allotment, and then Capital. Depending on how your account's set up, you may have to choose your department and agency and brew. Once that's filled out, you can choose the budget code. Today I'll be using budget code 42217. I'll be using the budget code 401009. For this type of allotment, right now I'm in the test environment, which does not have the option of SCIF, but if you're in production and using this, you'll have the external and SCIF options here. If you're doing an allotment that's pulling from the SCIF account, you'll want to make sure to select that SCIF type of allotment. One thing to note about that type of allotment is that field can't be changed once you proceed past this screen. So if you're working on an allotment and realize it should have been SCIF and it wasn't, or you selected SCIF when it shouldn't have been, you'll need to delete and recreate the allotment request. So be sure to double check and make sure you've chosen the right type of allotment before you go past this screen. And then next, you'll give your allotment a title. One thing that can be helpful here is adding in the budget fund so that you can quickly do a search for that in IBIS and be able to find previous allotments for the same project. Once you've completed that information, you'll be brought to the capital budget allotment form and the basic information page. The only piece of information left to fill out on this screen is the justification. And so for allotments, this justification can sometimes be a simple allotting to pay invoices for the project. If you have additional information to provide, this is where it can be helpful to provide that. If you have an allotment that's unusual for your agency for any reason, you can provide additional detail and context in this justification tab so that OSBM is more likely to be able to approve those without needing to reach out and have emails back and forth, which will prolong the approval process. Once you've added that justification, you can move on to the budget detail tab. And on the budget detail tab, this is where you'll see the difference between NCAS and NCFS as it's used in IBIS. One important piece of information on the screen is that you'll need to move from left to right. So you'll start with the account number, then move on to AMU, then program, funding source, project, and then finally interfund. If you try and do those out of order, I'll go from left to right. If you click on them, you'll see there aren't any options for you to select. The way IBIS works is once you've chosen the field furthest on the left that hasn't been filled out, it'll then start to pull on a list of options on the next field. So for this example, I'll be starting with an account that starts with 54. So I'll type in 54 and it'll bring up all of the accounts that are available for this particular budget fund. If you don't see an account that you're looking for here, that likely means it hasn't been activated in NCFS. So you'll need to go to NCFS and make sure that that account and any various combinations of that account and the other chart of account strings have been activated in NCFS. And then once you activate them in NCFS, it will interface with IBIS overnight, and the next day you'll be able to use that account in IBIS. For this example, I'll start with this 5420000 count. In this particular example, all of the other strings are defaulting to 0. I'll add my cash requested. I will be doing a second account. To that, I'll select the account. Once again, these additional fields are defaulting to 0. Click Add. And then I'll move on to the receipts. And so this is a SCIF funded project. So I will start by typing in 48 to bring up the SCIF receipt account. The AMU for the SCIF is 0. The program is 0. The funding source, this is one of the fields that you'll need to make sure you're choosing the right year if there are multiple options here. For this particular project, it was funded from the FY23 SCIF. So the funding source will be 2023. The project is all zeros. The interfund, once again, you'll need to make sure you're selecting the right interfund for your SCIF funded projects. And FY23 is the 201354 interfund. If you're not sure about which interfund or funding source you need to use for a particular project, or you have questions about that, we do have a job aid available on the OSBM website that covers these SCIF account combinations and how to use these SCIF receipt accounts. You'll enter your cash requested, click Add. You'll want to verify in the summary that if you're doing a SCIF allotment, that the net appropriation is 0 here. After you've entered the requirements and receipts you need, you can move on to the attachments. If you have any particular details you'd like to provide via attachment, you can do that here, whether that's any sort of spreadsheet that shows the reasoning behind the allotment, or you might have invoices to attach to show the justification of why that allotment is needed. You can add those here. Once you've added any needed attachments, you can validate the attachment. It will bring you to this summary screen where you can view all the information entered on one page, so you can quickly see what information you have and verify that everything is entered as you need. There you can close it if you aren't ready to submit it, or you can submit it to OSBM at this point. Those are the steps for creating an allotment within IBIS and using the new NCFS chart of accounts specifically for the SCIF account. If you have any questions about this process as you're working through it or trying to get allotments created and submitted, please reach out to your budget execution analyst and we'll be happy to talk with you and work with you on any questions you may have.